We asked you what you thought about the proposed CAYLEE'S Law, and we're also asking you about Casey's future. We're going to check in with some of your comments in just a moment, but if you'd like to join in, here's what you can do. You can email me directly right now at lynn@lynndoyle.net. As always, you can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Lynn Doyle, and as you know, this is It's Your Call. Casey Anthony is now being called the most hated woman in America. But this is America, the land of opportunity and second chances. So does she deserve one too, especially since she wasn't convicted of killing her daughter? We're going to find out what you think about that later on. Right now, though, back to our conversation about CAYLEE'S Law, and we were talking about the necessity of actually having a law on the books that requires parents to report their child missing. Now, I don't know about you. If it was my child or a grandchild and they were missing, as the senator said, for even 1 minute, I'd be going absolutely crazy. But some people say that it's not necessary because it is common sense.
Look, the only thing I would say about this is that you can't go overboard because somebody got away with murder. I mean, that's the feeling, that she got away with it. And I don't know that I disagree. But that doesn't mean we put on the law a law on the books that might be punishing people over broadly. For example, in the law that you've drafted, Senator, it says any person who doesn't report it, the death. Does that mean a hospital worker? Does that mean everybody in the family?
No,
because the mom, the dad?
Because it's very specific. It says that if you are the one who has legal responsibility for the child, the hospital worker doesn't. It's the parent that has that.
Well, what about the
responsibility?
Well, maybe the hospital has a legal responsibility when the person's in their care. It just, it's overbroad in the sense that it says death, and that's something that can be worked on.
But it also says known or should have known. So if you're talking about certain situations, the bottom line on this, as you said, and as others have said at this table, the good parents already do what they're supposed to do. But what this has turned up, and this is how laws occur, what this has turned up is an area that we didn't even know about.
Well,
we didn't know the possibility of parents that didn't
if you
do
didn't know
this.
about it, it couldn't be that much of an evil.
But look at Florida. I mean, they didn't know that. And if this law was in place, there was no question. This one will be in jail right now.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. It's not that it's for parents who don't do it necessarily that we're going to catch them, but it's in case we do, that you have one more tool with which to prosecute them.
And don't forget, it's up to the prosecutor too. It goes to your point, is that the prosecutors are the ones that make the ultimate decision on what to charge on. These laws are on the books. They're not, they have the ability to interpret them and to interpret those on a case-by-case basis. But when you're talking about children's futures and their lives, really, can you roll the dice with that? I say
and Casey Anthony, if this happened in New Jersey, she'd be in jail for a really long time already, and this would keep her in even longer.
And with my law as well too, she would be in jail.
But why?
There's no indication that whether she would have been charged with the offense, that at the time that they came to trial, this one charge of many would have remained in the case. I have tried many cases where the prosecutors pare down the evidence and pare down the charges to make sure the case is tried as simply as possible for a jury. So the mere fact that there's one sentence in the factual scenario that simply she failed to report the allegation that her child was missing doesn't mean she would still be in jail. Obviously, you saw that the Florida judge...
Here's the thing, though. The prosecutor... Well, first of all, I think they did a terrible job. But apart from that, this would not have been one of the things that they would have pared down, because this is one of the few things they could have proven. They didn't prove anything else.
You don't know that because the issue...
we know it. She didn't report the child. The child was dead.
You don't know, but you don't know if
it's not about the law. It's about the child. And that's what people are forgetting here. There is a 2-year-old child that was missing for 31 days. Our obligation as elected officials is to speak for this child. And the fact that people are talking about it. Well, it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's a headline case. There was a law called Megan's Law, and people said the same exact thing. And the truth today is that there are children that are alive today that are safe today because of Megan's Law. And counsel said the same exact thing back then.
Megan's Law is a completely different law that focuses upon the reporting and placement locations of convicted sex offenders. Those are people who have been convicted, who have a predilection for committing the same offense.
But it's a law that tries to save children.
The person who is going to kill a child in their custody is not going to report it. This is a reactionary law that is unfunded. You're requiring the police to do more investigation or some investigation beyond what they already know without any funding, without any capability, because the only person who may know about where the child is the person who's required to report it, and they're not going to report it.
On that note, we're going to go to the telephone lines and to our Facebook pages to find out what our viewers have to say. We did ask your thoughts on CAYLEE'S Law specifically, and I wanted to share a few of the responses that we've gotten. This one says from Bunny, she says, this law should really be common sense, and I believe the parent who does not report a child missing is guilty of something. No parent I know can even breathe when they cannot find their child. Jim says, quote, I'm automatically suspicious of any law named after a child. Not sure I understand that one, but you actually
I understand it too, because what that viewer is saying is that it's, as noted, perhaps a headline case, that these are things that grab the emotions, they make good politics, you go ahead and do it. My point, of course, is that many times these are overbroad. Now, I will just make one note. This isn't like Megan's Law, because that affected hundreds of thousands of defendants who did bad things. As we sit here, we can probably think of one case this
We have one case. It's in Florida. It's right now.
That's it. Yeah, but that's it.
But that's the point. Why wait? Why would you wait, counsel? Why would you want to wait until another dead child pops up? For me, that's just unacceptable. I could not accept the fact that another CAYLEE, Anthony,
you're wrong,
just
because
happen.
You're thinking I oppose your sentiments.
I know you, because you're a defense attorney, and that's fine. But you don't want, you certainly don't want your client to be facing my legislation. Not only does my legislation,
and you're
my legislation, I'm not playing politics.
I agree with the sentiment,
a
but
child's
it's overbroad.
Life. No, it's not.
It is.
There is.
It affects one person in the entire country that you can think of.
Protection of a child. When it comes to a protection of a child, which most of us believe is our most precious asset, can you do too much? I don't think you can.
Okay, on that note, back to the Facebook comments, because Patty actually is reacting to what you're saying and says, I support this law, although I think it's terrible that we have to put a law into place to remind people that if your child is missing, you need to report it by a certain time or that it's a crime. And I think that's what Richard and Jeff are saying, is that these kinds of people are not necessarily the ones who are worried about what the law says. They're just worried about covering it up if they've done something wrong.
It's legislating parenting. It's legislating morality. And whether it's running a stop sign or similar to other issues, texting, you have to teach the parent on how to behave and how to love their child.
Well, that's why I agree with them and not with you. I agree that some law is okay. I just think making it a second degree and mandatory 5 years is punishing them for killing or a manslaughter that they have been acquitted of. It should be for the act of not reporting, which is a different and a lesser offense.
But if
on that note, I am going to take a break. I'm sorry, we could continue our debate for hours here, and I'm sure you have opinions too, and yours is the one I want to hear next. If you want to tell us what you think about CAYLEE'S Law and whether you support it or not, you can email me at lynn@lynndoyle.net. But coming up next, we're going to talk about Casey Anthony and whether or not she should be able to profit from this, because after all, she was acquitted. Doesn't mean she's not guilty, but she was acquitted. So we'll find out what you think about that right after this.